I just realized I didn't film an intro. But in this video, everybody, I'm going to be doing an annual on an Aeronica Champ. I'm not really going to show much of the annual, but I am going to talk about what the Aeronica Champ is, what it became, do I think they're worth the money, and ultimately ending in, do I think you should own one? So if any of that interests you, or if you just want to see this pretty old aircraft that me and a buddy of mine restored, make sure to stick around. What's going on, YouTube? I'm doing an annual on an Aeronica Champ today. So YouTube, I am doing an annual on this Aeronica Champ that you see behind me, but you might not know the significance and the importance of the Aeronica Champ, and I'll get into what we're doing with it in just a second and why it's in such nice condition. But first we need to understand what the Aeronica Champ is. Well, the manufacturer would be Aeronica, and the Champ would be the model. And this is a very, very old airframe from the 40s and 50s. It is fabric covered. It is a steel tube fuselage with wood formers, and it has wood wings on it. Now, this one has been modified, and all of the necessary documentation to go along with it, and it's had metal wings put on it, which is an actually pretty common mod. But the Aeronica Champ is a very old school airplane, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So the owner of this aircraft has this little bracket here so that he can put a comm radio in it, and let's see if I can find it. Down here, he's got it sort of tucked away. I accidentally got it underneath the carpet. He has a connector for said radio. But you'll notice there's no radio in the dash. In fact, there's not even an attitude indicator or a heading indicator in the dash. All you get is a compass, a tachometer, an altimeter, an oil pressure, oil temperature, a vertical speed indicator, and of course an airspeed indicator, because those are the only instruments required by the regulation. Because this aircraft is not certified to go into any sort of controlled airspace. It doesn't have ADS-B in or out. It doesn't even have a radio on board. You have to carry a handheld, as the owner does, so that you can talk to a tower and so that you can talk to control. But why would anyone want to do this? Well, because they're just so much fun. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about specifically what the Aeronica Champ is. Now, as I said earlier, the Aeronica Champ was manufactured by Aeronica in the 40s and the 50s and was a fabric aircraft, as this obviously still is a fabric aircraft with wood wings, but there are some common mods that a lot of people do to them. One of those modifications is installing a Continental O200 engine and getting rid of the C85 that came on them originally. You get a little bit more horsepower, so you'll have a little bit better performance. The second common modification that people will do is a metal sparred wing instead of a wood spar wing. Although not necessary, it is very, very common. Sorry, that was the owner coming back for a second to talk to me. But some other common mods may include a battery and an electrical system, which they do not come with originally. There are no lights on this aircraft, so no, it cannot be flown at night. And there is obviously, for that reason, no radio, no alternator, and no electric start, which means you have to hand prop this aircraft, so magneto timing and priming is very, very important on these old airplanes. But what did the Aeronica Champ eventually become? Well, the airframe and the designs and drawings and everything was bought by a little-known company called American Champion. And this airplane, this airframe, would eventually get modified to the point where it became the Citabria, or the Decathlon, the DMC-12, the fully acrobatic high-wing aircraft with a constant speed prop and an inverted oil system that everybody loves but is very expensive. Yes, that airplane owes its lineage to this one. Now, why do I like the Aeronica Champ so much? Well, it's a little bit bigger than a Cub, it's a little bit more comfortable than a Piper Cub, and because the CG envelope is better, you can actually fly it from the front seat instead of the back seat. However, it is still a very, very simple, easy airplane to work on. There is not a lot to it. I'm doing an annual inspection on it, like I said, and I'm already like 80% of the way through it. I just need to finish pulling the interior, a couple of other things, and I will be done. So I will shut up and I will show you some of what this thing looks like underneath the panels. So starting underneath the cowling, we have an engine. Yes, I realize that's very exciting. But again, because there's no electrical system, that means there is no starter, there is no voltage regulator, there is no alternator, there is no vacuum pump. It is just two magnetos, an oil filter, and a carburetor, and of course a carb heat shroud. So again, very simple, and on an annual, there's not a whole lot to do other than clean and rotate the plugs, do a compression check, and change the air filter, as well as do an oil change, which I've already done all of those things. Sorry I didn't show it to you. In here, the simplicity continues. There's not a whole lot except for an ELT, 2 seats, a stick, and, you know, some throttles. And then in the tail, like I said, it is an older aircraft, so you're going to have some wood, you're going to have some fabric, and you're going to have some cables. Now, this aircraft is in really nice shape, and I'll explain why. So the owner and I, mostly the owner, did an extensive restoration on this aircraft a little bit over 1 year ago. It was completely recovered. Several pieces of wood were replaced. It had some new cables put in it. The engine was taken off and all of the gaskets and motor mounts were replaced, and basically it was fully restored. So this one is very, very nice. But now to answer the question that I posed just before I started the video, which was, are Aeronica Champs worth the money? Well, if you can find a good deal on one and all you want to do is take off and fly around in Class G airspace, of which there is plenty Class G airspace, then an Aeronica Champ is worth every penny in my opinion. They're slow, they're fun, they're cheap, and they're really pretty. There's going to be some drawbacks, like you're going to have to learn how to hand prop an airplane, and you're going to be working on an airplane, or you're going to be maintaining an airplane, I should say, that is aging. So some of the parts for it can be kind of expensive. However, because American Champion owns all of it, you can still get things like brand new pieces of wood. There's still plenty of repairs and material out there. However, a lot of it would be maintained in accordance with AC 4313 1B and not so much a maintenance manual. But again, there's lots of STCs for it to upgrade the engine, to upgrade the brakes, the wheels, the tires, pretty much whatever you want to do and put more modern stuff on it. Or you can just keep it restored in its original configuration and fly it the way it is. For me personally, if I ever had the extra money, which I don't know that I ever will because I like cars a little bit too much, I would definitely consider owning an Aeronica Champ. I think they're great airplanes. Even as an IA, they're a lot of fun. And I'm going to do an entirely separate video on not being scared of fabric airplanes and understanding a little better what comes with owning a fabric aircraft, how to maintain them, and all of that good stuff. So if you like the video, make sure to leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and as always, go build something and be easy.